So I wanted to share with you a little bit about the first chapter of the book of Hebrews, where it starts by saying that God spoke in the past through the prophets and the fathers, but has in these last days, and if you think of creation, the 7 days of creation, as 6,000 years, 7,000 years, Jesus came at the end of the fourth day, which is the 4,000th year. And so these last days are these last 2,000 years that that Jesus is speaking to us. And how is Jesus speaking to us? Well, first of all, he's speaking to us through his ministry that he had here on earth, through his life and his death, his birth, his life and his death, his teachings. But he's also speaking to us from heaven because when Jesus went up back to heaven, he started his high priestly ministry, which is what the book of Hebrews is all about, telling us about his high priestly ministry. But the part that I want to focus a little bit on is in chapter 1. And remember that I like to keep everything in the context of the great controversy. And so in chapter 1, we come to a verse that says, in verse 8, before that, the chapter is comparing him to the angels, and there's a reason for that, I believe, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So with verse 8, it says, your throne, O God, speaking to Jesus, okay, and quoting from the Psalms, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of your kingdom. Now that's so important. Think back to the two trees. A scepter of a king is how he rules his kingdom. The scepter represents the law with which he rules his kingdom. So the scepter of your kingdom is a scepter of righteousness. And then it does a very interesting thing, which is it compares his kingdom, his tree of life, to the kingdom of Satan. And it says, you have loved righteousness and hated iniquity. Now, if you remember, I don't know if you saw some of my earlier videos, but in one of them, I showed how from Ezekiel 28, iniquity was found in Lucifer. He was perfect in his ways until iniquity was found in him. And here we read that Jesus loved righteousness and hated iniquity. And so I want to explore a little more what that has to do with the two trees in the garden.